What's up, everyone? It's Dakota, and welcome to some Pioneer gameplay. So, this match in particular, I thought was kind of like a good learning experience and stuff. And it's been actually a few days since I actually played this game. Wanted to get some, recording in with it, and just really haven't had the time, but now that I got the time for it, it's a match I want to go over. The deck that we are playing is the Rakdos Sacrifice deck. It's a deck that I've been really enjoying in the Pioneer format. I think it's very well positioned, very poor against like mono green, which is the second most played deck. But all in all, I think against a lot of the other decks, I kind of like what it's doing, and just the kind of like how the different lines and how the games like really play out playing the deck, and you'll see kind of why as you watch this match. My opponent, I played against him in the Mana Traders series, so this, it was like it meant something, and they're on blue-white spirits. So let's go ahead and jump into the game. Of course, if you're not subscribed to the channel already, please consider doing so and ring the notification bell so you know when videos like this, other Pioneer videos, modern videos, essay videos get posted on my channel. So here we go. This deck's playing a companion, so we were playing Jengatha. Here, no, stop. First play of the game, won the die roll, choosing to go first. Uh, I've Blood Crypt, two Blood Crypts, an Urborg, and then I have, these four spells here. This is essentially like, I would say like the dream scenario, really, like maybe, a Thoughtseize to play instead of like the Unlucky Witness, and you can play like Cauldron Familiar, Witch's Oven, whatever, whatever. But here, we definitely have some options. We can play this Unlucky Witness, and then like we can follow it up with like Cat Oven. We can play the cat, and then we can, Witch's Oven, and like some combination of like these cards, and then like we already kind of have this engine going. If you have not seen the video on the Rakdos Sacrifice deck, which I had posted, I believe, last week, I implore you to check it out if you want to learn more about the deck and everything about the list in particular that we went over. But if you have a Mayhem Devil with like Cauldron Familiar, Witch's Oven, combo going, it ends up dealing 3 damage. You deal 2 damage from the Mayhem Devil, and you get a drain from the Cauldron Familiar for each time you kind of go through that iteration. So this hand is like great, as a snap keep. Continue playing. I believe that I led on the Unlucky Witness for the fact that like you could just do this on the next turn. Obviously, right here, it was very obvious that our opponent was spirits, by shocking a Hollow Fountain, Mausoleum Wanderer, super obvious, and a skill that you want to pick up on when, playing competitive formats, figuring out what your opponent is doing. Obviously, this is super easy. Pioneer, I feel like, has a lot of matchups that are easy to define and figure out on like the first turn or two of the game. Uh, you could conceivably like with the Rakdos decks, I think sack and mid range are a little bit different, so you could have a little bit hard of a time trying to differentiate the two. But then again, there are also some pretty unique cards as well that you could find out as well. Anyway, instead of just going and doing our thing and casting our spells and then attacking, I attack with the Unlucky Witness. If they want to trade, that's totally fine. Obviously, they can sacrifice the Mausoleum Wanderer to counter the Witch's Oven. Of course, we can pay it and everything. But this attack should be free. I'm fine with trading if they decide they want to trade, where I can just like play my things. I don't have to worry about like them sacking this and having to make me pay the extra. It's kind of give them like another way to screw up, because I could just play like this Urborg, Castle Witch's Oven if they want to sack this to try to counter this and essentially make it so I pay 2 mana for Witch's Oven. To me, that would be fine, but giving them the most options to screw up essentially. So we attack. They choose not to block. We play like the Hive of the Eye Tyrant. Playing the Witch's Oven first, because again, want to de-incentivize our opponent for sacrificing the Mausoleum Wanderer. Again, if they want to sacrifice it and make me spend my whole turn to play Witch's Oven, that's totally fine. But if they don't, then I just play this Cauldron Familiar. They can't counter it with the Mausoleum Wanderer, so I just kind of get all my things kind of rolled up. So second turn of the game, we're looking very good. obviously I would like to have like another spell instead of like this Herborg or like this Blood Crypt. But all in all, we are looking pretty good. We're going to be able to kind of like deal damage, we're going to get to attack, and then eventually get to see some more cards with this Unlucky Witness. Our opponent untaps, plays their land, attacks with the Wanderer, passes the turn, we loop our cat and stuff. So essentially here, like what I'm thinking, this deck in particular plays a lot of like 2 mana like spells that are essentially counter spells. So we're thinking of like Geistlight Snare is a card that they can play, which is essentially when they have a spirit in play, it's like a mana leak, and when they have, that and the 1 mana enchantment that lets them draw cards whenever they deal combat damage to a player. Curious Obsession side card. It's 1 mana. There's like the I think it's like something Denial where like it's a 2 mana counter spell that counters a spell unless they pay 1, but if you control a creature with flying, they pay 4. So, we're kind of in this spot where our opponent is representing some kind of counter spell or a protection spell. It could be the or not Geist, the Shackle guy. My goodness, some of these spirits are kind of like hard for me to like remember, but essentially like it enters the battlefield, gives another spirit hexproof. So that's something that we have to think of as well. Not that we have any removal spells, but like we get to play this Mayhem Devil, sack and everything, then we can do that. I attack because if they want to flash in their creature and protect this, whatever, they will grow this. So if I don't have another land, let's say, and I play a Witch's Oven, they could sack this and like counter the Witch's Oven if they were that concerned by it, which could be, considering I'm attacking with these creatures. I'm gonna be able to end up getting 2 triggers with Cauldron Familiar, so just some things to think about. But like just starting off on attack, forcing them to make a mistake. Chances are that they won't take it, but you never know. You have some players that are like very, I would say, very conservative. Would want to like minimize the damage or try to kind of like screw something up so they like tap out to like block one of these, pump this, and then hope to like counter something later. So we get in, deal our damage. We play a land. I just decide to play the Witch's Oven. I don't want to play in a counterspell. Chances are that they have the possibility for both. They could just play the Spirit end of turn, and pump this, have a bunch of damage, and essentially try to assemble a board that can like maybe block and then eventually race. Of course, pretty awkward because I have 2 Witches Oven here with these Cauldron Familiars, so like I'm gonna be able to gain life, and if they attack, then I'm able to attack and then still gain life and stuff like that. So they're not in a very good position just on how my draw lined up. They do have the Rattle Chains to they end up protecting their own thing. Doesn't really matter. Um, of note, like this Rattle Chains does give things flash, and we'll actually see here in a second because they flash in their Lord, which is kind of weird. And then they don't have a land, and it puts our opponent in a very bad position where essentially they're going to end up losing a lot of their board. So I mentioned that with Cat Oven, there is essentially 2 damage that's going to come from the Mayhem Devil and then a drain from the cat. So we get to deal 4 damage here, which essentially means that with what we have set up, we're able to, kill the Supreme Phantom and then take out one of these 1 toughness creatures. And we definitely want to get the Supreme Phantom, off the board. With what we have set up here, it's going to be very hard for our opponent to like mess with the Mayhem Devil or whatever. But like we want to deal with, their board in short order. So like there, we're just gonna go like at the Supreme Phantom. We're gonna say like this, keep looping our cat and start pinging their board. And of course, like being able to get in some damage as well. This allows us to attack with our Unlucky Witness, leaving with the Mausoleum Wanderer, because we're, if they want to like sacrifice it again, like we're just winning the board, they take a draw step and concede the game. Obviously, from there, if they were going to need like a bunch of lords, they were going to need another Supreme Phantom, and even then, like if they had copies 2 and 3, we kill one of them, and then from there we just get to keep taking out their board and still draining them. Eventually, like we could just ignore them and just go to the face with damage as well, considering that we're going to be getting a life every time we kind of go through this loop. So that's game one. Winning it pretty convincingly, in all honesty. just from the fact, again, we just kind of like hammered it to them and didn't really give them a good opportunity to use their mana very efficiently. And of course, like the one turn, they actually stumbled on mana as well. So it's game one. Game two. See, we played 3 games, so probably know what that means for this one. But I believe game two is like pretty close. So again, we have Jangata as a companion. This hand is a little bit worse than our awesome hand that we had in game one. But like we have these Mayhem Devils, we have Blood Tithe Harvester that's going to make a blood token that we can sacrifice later. You trigger these Mayhem Devils, the Blood Tithe Harvester itself, that we could go kill something and make some tokens, and Witch's Oven, which if we ever find a cat or a witness or anything like that, we're going to be able to sack, get a food that we can maybe sacrifice later, and again ping with like these Mayhem Devils. So if our opponent like wants to like tap out and play their creatures and stuff, we're fine because we're gonna tap out, play our things, and then our things are gonna be able to remove their things, and eventually just kind of like put the brakes on anything they can get. Board in these rending volleys, lead on the Witch's Oven. That's our turn one play. A portable hole, great for us because they don't take the Harvester. Of course, we draw another Witch's Oven. I decide that I'm going to get this Harvester going instead. Pass turn. Opponent plays Mutavault. So from here, our opponent has 3 mana up. They didn't play anything. So immediately, like something you think of in this situation is like obviously like they could just have a counter spell. They could just have the Lofty Denial, hoping to just counter like a 3 mana spell or like a Geistlight Snare to really counter like anything that I could play. Because I'm only gonna have 3 lands in play. Geistlight Snare is going to be able to counter whatever I play. A card that I did not have on my radar at the time. I think I just kind of got lost in the fact of like, oh, I just like absolutely blew them out game one. That I should have had the other the oh my goodness. Of course, I can never like remember the card when I actually need it. But it's the spirit that when it comes into play, it essentially like captures a spell that has a converted mana cost of 4 or less, and then you can cast it if the creature leaves the battlefield. It's like we'll see here. I play the Witch's Oven. They decide to do nothing, so I pass the turn. I get to hold out this Rending Volley. I prioritize like the Rending Volley over this stuff here because I didn't want to play into like a counter spell. So just getting to play this Witch's Oven out, and eventually later get to play like a Mayhem Devil and leave up a Rending Volley for their Spirit if they, if that's like their way of like countering my spell. Sacrifice the blood token because I'm not going to be getting rid of this Blood Tithe Harvester. Draw a card. I kind of want to hit like, well, I end up ditching the land, but like I also don't want to get rid of like any of these cards as well. Final Fatal Push. I have a Cauldron Familiar, so I have something to pair with this Witch's Oven. And obviously I have removal for a few of their creatures. And then eventually I'm going to get to slam these Mayhem Devils and do a bunch of damage. I get in for 3, and then I get to play a cat. My opponent doesn't have like a counter spell for it. So, it's able to go through, and I'm going to, get to do my thing. So they attack, pass the turn. Here I am going attacking. Opponent animates the Mutavault. Try to Fatal Push the Mutavault. Of course, they are able to slip out the back, which is actually some interesting tech from it. Get in for some damage, and of course, here we are holding on to Claim the Firstborn to hopefully, take out a card from our opponent and like use it to win the game on their end, if they decide to like attack or something. So like here, I'm kind of thinking like, all right, and we could, play a Blood Tithe Harvester, claim the Firstborn their thing, hit them for 5, put them to 4, and then kind of go about that way. Like we could play a Blood Tithe Harvester, make a blood token, sacrifice the one that we do have to kill the Skyclave, make a 1/1. So there's a few things we can do. We can just play like the Mayhem Devil. Of course, like bad if our opponent has a counterspell, which I believe that they do. Of course, we attack, like we offer the trade. They accept the trade. Might have been pretty bad for me, but we play a Mayhem Devil and they have a Lofty Denial. We're not able to pay, kind of regretting discarding that land. Here we have a Hive that we're not going to be able to play, and our opponent's Spell Quellers are Blood Tithe Harvester. So like our Mayhem Devil not getting Blood Tithe or Spell Queller is fine. Uh, and again, like we still have some ways where like we can claim the Firstborn one of their spells if they like don't have a counter for it, and kind of try to win the game out of nowhere. So here we have another volley. We get to cast our Blood Tithe Harvester from the Spell Queller, and get to try to slam our Mayhem Devil, which I believe they have like another counter spell for, like they have a Geistlight Snare. Our opponent is down to one card in hand, and it's really annoying that we ended up actually going on to lose this game, just because like our opponent has one card in hand. This deck is not very good at playing from behind, in the sense that it really wants to kind of like stay at parity, and then eventually like it'll get ahead by getting to play disruptive, where like they're not necessarily stalling out because like their creatures like Supreme Phantom and Mausoleum Wanderer and Spell Queller kind of have like these sort of reactive elements to them, to where they stop you from really playing things, and like their creatures are bigger, so they stop your offense. And with you know Spell Queller essentially getting to counter spells, and Mausoleum Wanderer getting to threatens other ones, and even Skyclave Apparition, post board, getting to affect your board, as well as being disruptive, but then also allowing the deck to be aggressive as well. Makes games that go from even to in their favor very quickly. So and we're going to kind of see that here. We play this Cauldron Familiar. We don't have a way to kind of give it back, but I'm gonna attack with this Blood Tithe Harvester. I was fine with trading any one of these, but I did miss that it will get to grow into a 4/4, which was totally on me, and kind of like the uh, break point essentially of like the game. Like here we are, like we just have to claim the Firstborn. And like this could be something that we could, steal the game this way, where like our opponent does a lot of this stuff, and then like we just like take their things and attack them. Of course, like they trigger Revolt on our Fatal Push, and I believe I end up Fatal Pushing the Skyclave Apparition, but their last card is a Geistlight Snare, which is absolutely brutal. We end up just playing like this Fable, not really being able to do much of anything, because like we get to block like the Skyclave Apparition, and that's really it. Our opponent playing the Invasion, we still get to cast both of these spells. They animate their Mutavault, and unfortunately, this is going to force me to, not really force me to block, but I'm going to get to go to 8. I don't block with the cat because this gives us the ability to hopefully flip this, but they ended up attacking the battle, which will give their creatures hexproof and indestructible. Gotta try to find something, like draw something to be able to deal with this, and we just don't end up finding it, and that ends up being game 2. Kind of brutal to lose in that fashion, but it kind of is what it is. Game 3, gotta bring it back. Get to be on the play, so feeling a little bit better about that. Of course, revealing Jangata as our companion. Keeping this hand, it interacts with a turn 1 or turn 2 creature. More than likely they're not going to have anything like to stop like these Blood Tithe Harvesters and stuff. So like we're gonna get to be aggressive with our 2 drops, and then also get to like mess with their board. Like here they have like a Mausoleum Wanderer, kind of regretting not leaving up Fatal Push, but all of course like no reason to like shock this into play. Like they are an aggressive deck. This Mausoleum Wanderer will get in for some damage, but Fatal Push having a pretty good target here. I believe I just play like another Blood Tithe Harvester, and then sack Harvester to get this, and then Fatal Push the other creature. Oh, or just a Mayhem Devil, which will allow us to finish off the Supreme Phantom, because we sacrifice this, give it -2/-2, and then ping with the Devil. The Mausoleum Wanderer getting to grow yet again. Playing a third one, which is like kind of, or a second one, excuse me, kind of rough, but is what it is. Some interesting things to note here. So we cast Fatal Push, targeting the Supreme Phantom, knowing that they were probably going to sacrifice a Mausoleum Wanderer. So from like what we have set up in our hand, we're able to, Fatal Push, target this. They're going to sack their Wanderer, target that. We could target this. Well, so we're not going to pay this. Like we're going to end up being able to essentially get pretty close to killing their board because like Croxa is going to get a card out of their hand. It's also going to get sacrificed to its own trigger because it was an escape, which is going to trigger the Mayhem Devil. And of course, like we have this blood token that we can sacrifice and then draw cards. So that's two sacrifices that we can use to end up dealing with the Supreme Phantom, leaving the Mausoleum Wanderer and us with like no non-creature spells that we care to resolve because at the current moment we don't have any, and we're gonna have enough mana that we're gonna be able to resolve like our fatal pushes and stuff like that through this Mausoleum Wanderer, especially since they've already gone through two Supreme Phantoms. So we end up going through like we ping the Supreme Phantom anyway. We don't pay. We draw a card, ditching the land, draw a Den. Then we just play this Croxa, sacrifice it, ping that, get rid of it, get in for 3. Our opponent's down to 2 cards, and we're just kind of rolling in it right now. Like they play a wedding announcement, which is going to be a little annoying for us because it's going to make 1/1s, but at the same time, we're not worried about these when we have like an active Mayhem Devil. Our opponent, like a short of like a Skyclave Apparition, can't get rid of this Mayhem Devil, and they don't have double white yet. So like we have like a turn or two, at least before any of that happens. So here, I discard the Den of the Bugbear, draw a card, draw another Mayhem Devil, Thoughtseize, get the Spell Queller out of there, leaving them with a Rattle Chains, which, with all this stuff that we have, we have a Mayhem Devil here. Like we can play this, and then we can sack the Blood Tithe Harvester. It's not going to actually deal with anything, but it is going to ping the 2 tokens here, and then we'll be able to get in for 3 points of damage. Our opponent's still holding on to this Rattle Chains, and Rattle Chains isn't going to be very good because the only thing it's really going to be able to protect is like a Mutavault, and we definitely have some options here. So we have this Crocs in the graveyard, and I believe this is the turn where like we play the Den, we play the Crocs, so we exile everything from the graveyard and get the Rattle Chains out of our opponents, or force our opponent to play the Rattle Chains because they'll have to discard it to the Croxa. They're going to take 3 points of damage, and they are going to be in a world of hurt because this Crocs is going to put a lot of pressure on them. It's going to force them to either play the spells that are in their hand and take 3 damage, or just hold spells, and to not take the damage. And it's not very good when you're staring at a Mayhem Devil, and of course we know that we have another one, but you're staring at a Mayhem Devil. You have like the sack outlet and everything. You have like a Den of the Bugbear that can start getting in there as well if need be. Oh, it can be pretty rough. And our opponent decides that they want to trade 2 of their things for this Mayhem Devil. I'm totally fine with that. They end up losing a land out of it. They attack with the Rattle Chains, which, I think kind of recognizing that it's something that they probably need to do, simply for the fact that you're not going to win the game just kind of like playing passive. Like this Croxa is going to knock a card out of your hand every turn, and you're essentially hoping that it's more flash threats for, again, for the fact that if you're going to take 3 damage, you want to be able to deal a ton of damage on the way back. Lords are going to be pretty good. But it also, in a way, will like clear the way for us to play like Mayhem Devil and make sure this Rending Volley doesn't get countered by like a Spell Queller. So go to combat. I end up attacking with just the Croxa. Again, knocking opponents out, card out of opponent's hands, counter spell. So a reason like to not play these cards like pre-combat. We end up running the Mayhem Devil, passing the turn. Opponent portable holes the Croxa, which sucks, but I believe here they have like no cards in hand, so then we're just able to volley the token, and from there you can see it. We have 6 power in play. We just animate the Den, attack for 10, and our opponent is dead. Don't fault our opponent there for attacking strictly for the fact that, again, you're not winning the game. And even if they didn't, if they just say like stay back and pass, like we kill the Rattle Chains, attack with Mayhem Devil, Blood Tithe Harvester, and a Den of the Bugbear, they like block the Den. They still take 7. Go down to 2. They're essentially like drawing for the most part, like drawing dead. They have like no board, and they have to. I'm not even sure like what they could find this at, like something like temporary lockdown, but then it doesn't get like mayhem double or anything like that. So, uh, really interesting match. I guess it would get rid of their portable hold too, and that would be really bad because they would get Crocs back and stuff. So, yeah, definitely a really good match. It was a lot of fun playing it. Definitely some mistakes that were made during the game, some things I wish I would have done better. But overall, just kind of like showing off, like kind of the power of like the sack deck and some of like the weird things that you can do and some of the situations that you can put your opponent in if maybe they're not necessarily familiar with it, or really even if they are, like even if my opponent was like aware of like what was going on, they're kind of forced into some of those situations and having me, you know, sort of kind of waste more resources to accomplish what I want, but still in even partially accomplishing everything that I had set out to do, like, the turn where they had two Mausoleum Wanderers and a Supreme Phantom in play, like I still got rid of a Wanderer and a Supreme Phantom and had plenty of gas to where, the opponent needed more if they were going to try to bring the game back to even and eventually take over as well. So that's going to do it for me in this video. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like on the video. Comment down below if there's any other Pioneer or Modern decks that you want to see on the channel. I'll try to upload more gameplay and stuff. It's always like a goal of mine, but it never really ends up panning out. So that's gonna be the plan. If you want to see a specific deck, please leave a comment on any of my videos. This one, any of them. Just give me ideas. It doesn't matter. I enjoy playing Magic, and I will probably enjoy playing just about any deck. So subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell, all that fun stuff. Follow the links down in the description. That's gonna do it for me. I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope to see you all in the next video.